One of the Lower Mainland's favorite family fun spots, especially for birthday parties, is Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby. And that's where we are for this week's edition of Red's Classic Theater. Hi, everybody. Chuck E. Cheese's is 17,000 square feet of food and entertainment. And this is where a kid can really be a kid. And we'll find out what that's all about throughout our program. Our movie this week is the 1982 musical Annie from Columbia Pictures. It's based on the long-running comic strip drawn by Harold Gray. The picture ranks as one of the most expensive musicals ever produced. The film rights alone cost $9.5 million, the highest sum ever paid at that time. And eventually the budget for the film reached $40 million. And just as incredible was the search for the child actor to play the lead role. Over 8,000 kids auditioned for the part that eventually went to 10-year-old Aileen Quinn. And now, here's Act One of Annie the Musical. We're in one of the top kid places in all of BC this week, Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby. This unique restaurant and game center opened nearly 9 years ago in December of 1983 and has entertained over 200,000 children each and every year. As a matter of fact, next year, Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby will welcome its 2 millionth visitor. With over 17,000 square feet on 2 levels, the restaurant can comfortably seat 500 guests. And with over 60 video games, kiddie rides, and skill testers, there's lots for kids of all ages to do. A big favorite with little ones is the Ball Crawl, a 16 by 16 foot enclosure filled with 50,000 plastic balls. Today, there are over 280 Chuck E. Cheese's worldwide in countries like France, Hong Kong, and Puerto Rico, but none as popular as Burnaby's Chuck E. Cheese. We'll be back with more in just a moment. As we mentioned earlier, Chuck E. Cheese's is a very popular place for birthday parties. In fact, they usually do over 5,000 parties a year. Multiply that by the 9 years they've been in business, and you're looking at singing happy birthday to you about 45,000 times. Now, if you'd like to reserve a room at Chuck E. Cheese's for a birthday party, plan well in advance. Bookings run about 3 weeks ahead. Call 421-8835 for reservations. And now let's return to Annie, starring Aileen Quinn. Hope you're enjoying tonight's presentation of Annie on Red's Classic Theater. We're at Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby. And this was a risky picture for director John Huston to undertake, as he'd never directed a musical before, and he was unfamiliar with the genre. His many friends thought it was a bad decision on his part, but Huston was in need of money. Though the picture took in about $60 million at the box office, Huston was never really proud of his work on Annie. But his mood was colored by a tragic event that occurred before filming even began. Quite suddenly, at just 61, Huston's fourth wife Gladys died of a heart attack. Her passing affected him deeply, and he described his sorrow as being worse than losing all 3 of his former wives together. Yet he was forced to carry on due to the bad financial straits in which he found himself. When all was said and done, Huston earned about $1 million for his efforts on Annie, but he felt it was small compensation for the loss of his companion. And now let's continue with Annie, starring Albert Finney and Carol Burnett. Well, here at Chuck E. Cheese's, my band, the Beach Bowsers, and myself decided to take a pizza break and have a look at our mailbag. And please continue sending in your requests for movies and suggestions for locations. A really great letter here came in from Gladys Lidfords in Vancouver. She says, I've listened and watched you over the years. Don't ever retire Red. Well, thank you so much. Her request is for Notorious, starring Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman. And Tina Taylor from Marysville, Washington, requested a movie for her brother. He'd like to see White Buffalo, starring Charles Bronson. And Tina went on in the letter to say that she wishes we'd hold the address up on the screen a little longer. Let's do that right now. If you have the suggestion of a movie or a location, write to Red Robinson, Television 12 in Vancouver. That's Red Robinson, Television 12 in Vancouver. And there you can also see the postal code. Well, next Sunday night on Red's Classic Theater, more music as we present the film version of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. This stars Gordon MacRae and Shirley Jones. And now let's return to Annie. We're at Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby this week on Red's Classic Theater. Well, win some, lose some. Already a popular television star by the time she joined the cast of Annie, Carol Burnett was further buoyed by a recent victory. After an attack on her personal life by the supermarket tabloid National Enquirer, She'd taken the paper to court and won a settlement of over $200,000. And the idea of appearing as Miss Hannigan, the mean orphanage manager, appealed greatly to Burnett as a chance to do something outrageous on film. She won the part over Bette Midler, who was also strongly considered. Meanwhile, Aileen Quinn had an easy time of it on the set. She already knew the role by heart, having understudied in the Broadway play of the same name. And the problem of finding a stunt stand-in for Quinn was solved when they found a stuntman who was 4 foot 9 inches tall by the name of Bobby Porter. And one of the big scenes in the movie, Bobby Porter gets to hang from a 20-story railroad drawbridge. Look for it a little later in the film. And now let's return to Annie. From Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby, time for our weekly movie trivia quiz. Director John Huston lost an opportunity of directing Jack Nicholson when the role of Daddy Warbucks went to Albert Finney in the motion picture Annie. However, John Huston did eventually direct Jack Nicholson along with his own daughter, Angelica, in a movie a few years later. Our question, can you name the movie? We'll be back with the answer in just a moment. Here's the answer to our movie trivia quiz. The movie in which John Huston got to direct Jack Nicholson and his own daughter, Angelica, was the 1985 comedy Prizzi's Honor. And now let's return to Annie. Well, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Red's Classic Theater from Chuck E. Cheese's in Burnaby. We've had a ball out here. Hope you enjoyed our motion picture this week, Annie, starring Carol Burnett, Albert Finney, and Aileen Quinn. Now be sure to join us next Sunday night on Red's Classic Theater when we present the wonderful music of Rodgers and Hammerstein in the 1955 musical Oklahoma, starring Shirley Jones and Gordon MacRae. In the meantime, if there's a motion picture you'd like to see or the suggestion of a location, please write to Red Robinson in care of Television 12 in Vancouver. And we'd like to thank this management and staff here at Chuck E. Cheese's, and in particular, Ann DeFeo, for hosting our program this week. And by the way, if your youngsters are having a birthday party, there's no finer place to come for fun, food, and great entertainment than Chuck E. Cheese's. See you next week on Red's Classic Theater for Oklahoma. Until then, thanks for being with us. Good night, everybody.